The signal arrived during the midnight shift at SETI's primary listening post in New Mexico. Dr. Sarah Chen had almost missed it, mistaking the pattern for another pulsar echo until the frequencies began to shift in ways that nature never could. After 20 years of listening to the stars, humanity had received its first deliberate message from the cosmos. The Aetherians didn't arrive in massive ships or with great fanfare. Their vessel, barely larger than a commercial airliner, limped into lunar orbit trailing crystalline fragments that sparkled like tears in the starlight. Admiral James Rodriguez watched from the International Space Station as the ship's hull rippled with iridescent patterns, their equivalent of an SOS. Their bleeding energy, Lieutenant Park reported, her eyes fixed on the readings. Their containment systems are failing. Whatever drove them here, they'd barely made it. The alien vessel's story emerged in fragments of light and sound, translated through hastily assembled protocols. They called themselves the Aetherians, a species that had once spanned a dozen star systems. Now they were refugees, their civilization systematically hunted and destroyed by the Caraxes, a species that viewed the galaxy as a proving ground where only the strongest deserved to survive. The Aetherians' crime: they had refused to build weapons, to participate in the endless cycles of conflict that plagued their sector of space. Their mastery of bioengineering and environmental sciences meant nothing to the Caraxes, who saw only weakness in their dedication to peace. "We did not choose this path," the Aetherian ambassador, a being called Lizara, explained during the first face-to-face meeting at Luna Base. Her form shifted like flowing mercury, taking on hints of human features in an unconscious attempt at communication. "We believe that by remaining neutral, by offering our healing arts to all, we would be valued. We were wrong." Admiral Rodriguez studied the alien diplomat, noting the way her silver skin dulled when speaking of her people's losses. "How many of you are left?" "Less than 1,000, spread across 3 ships. The others," Lysara's form rippled with grief. "The Caraxes are thorough in their hunts." The news reached Earth like a thunderbolt. Humanity, barely unified, and still taking its first tentative steps into space, faced a choice that would define their species. The Aetherians' pursuers would eventually track them to Sol. Helping these refugees meant potentially drawing the attention of a technologically superior aggressive species. The UN Security Council debated for 3 days straight. China argued for caution, Russia for preparation, the US for action. Smaller nations spoke of moral obligations, while others warned of the risks. But it was Dr. Chen, invited to testify about her first contact with the Aetherian signal, who shifted the debate. "We've spent centuries looking to the stars, asking if we're alone," she told the assembled leaders. "Now we know the answer, and it comes with a test. Are we the kind of species that turns away those in need because we're afraid? Or are we the ones who stand up, even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous, because it's right?" In orbit, the Aetherian ship's condition continued to deteriorate. Lieutenant Park worked with their engineers, jerry-rigging solutions with Earth technology that was primitive by galactic standards, but sturdy and adaptable. The Aetherians marveled at humanity's ability to solve problems with limited resources, to find unconventional solutions where their own sophisticated systems failed. "Your species is young," Lizara observed to Admiral Rodriguez as they watched humans and Aetherians work together on emergency repairs. "But you have something many older races have forgotten." "What's that?" "Hope. The belief that tomorrow can be better than today, if you're willing to work for it. My people had that once, before fear taught us to hide instead of help others." The UN's vote, when it came, was not unanimous. But it was decisive. Earth would offer sanctuary to the Aetherian refugees. More than that, humanity would help them rebuild, combining Aetherian knowledge with human determination to create defenses that stayed true to both species' principles. As the first joint human-Aetherian projects began, Admiral Rodriguez received a priority message from Deep Space Monitoring. 2 more Aetherian ships had been detected approaching Sol, pursued by something larger. The Caraxes had found their prey's trail. Humanity's test was about to begin. Earth's response to the approaching Caraxes threat began not with weapons, but with understanding. In the depths of a converted nuclear bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Rodriguez stood before a holographic display of the known galaxy, created using Aetherian star charts. Lysara's silver form shifted anxiously as she pointed out the worlds her people had lost. "The Caraxes don't just destroy," she explained, her voice carrying a tremor that the translation systems couldn't quite smooth out. "They study their prey first, learning weaknesses, testing defenses. When they finally strike, they've already won." Dr. Chen, recently appointed as head of the Joint Human-Aetherian Research Division, studied the attack patterns. They're methodical, almost scientific in their cruelty. She turned to Lieutenant Park, who had been working closely with the Aetherian engineers. "How long until they reach Seoul?" "Based on their current trajectory and speed, 3 months," Park replied, her fingers dancing across her tablet. "But that's assuming they maintain their current course. The Aetherians say they're known for indirect approaches." The next few weeks transformed Earth in ways that decades of science fiction hadn't prepared humanity for. The Aetherian refugees, grateful for Earth's protection, shared their knowledge freely. Their bioengineering expertise, combined with human ingenuity, led to breakthroughs that would have taken centuries to achieve alone. In orbital shipyards hastily constructed from repurposed satellites and space debris, human engineers worked alongside Aetherian architects. The refugees' profound understanding of biological systems helped create hybrid vessels, living ships that combined organic components with human mechanical innovation. Where the Aetherians had focused purely on defense and sustainability, humanity added teeth to their designs. "We don't seek violence," Rodriguez explained to Lysara as they toured the first completed hybrid destroyer. "But we understand its necessity when facing those who only respect strength." The ship's corridors pulsed with bioluminescent light, its walls warm and almost breathing. Human crew members worked at stations that merged conventional controls with Aetherian biotechnology. "Your people have adapted our systems in ways we never imagined," Lysara observed, touching a wall that responded to her presence. "We designed these interfaces for peace, for healing. You've maintained that foundation while adding protective capabilities." In laboratories worldwide, other collaborations bore fruit. Aetherian medical technology, refined over millennia of peaceful development, merged with human military science. Protective shields based on biological principles, regenerative armor that could heal itself, weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. Each innovation reflected both species' values. But not everyone embraced the alliance. Protests erupted in major cities, fear of alien influence, mixing with genuine concern about drawing the Caraxes' attention. Dr. Chen found herself defending the program before increasingly skeptical oversight committees. "The Aetherians aren't just giving us technology," she argued in one particularly heated session. "They're teaching us to think differently about progress itself. Their understanding of biological systems, their ability to work with nature rather than against it. These aren't just tools for the coming conflict. They're keys to solving problems we've struggled with for generations." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Park, working with a team of Aetherian scientists, discovered that their bioengineering principles could be applied to Earth's existing defensive systems in ways neither species had anticipated. Human military satellites, reconfigured with Aetherian organic computers, could create a neural network that spanned the solar system. "It's like giving space itself a nervous system," Park explained to the Joint Command. "We'll know the moment anything larger than a shuttle enters our solar system. More importantly, we can respond as a single coordinated entity." As the defensive network took shape, Admiral Rodriguez received word that the Caraxes fleet had changed course. Instead of approaching directly, they were moving through the Oort cloud, testing Earth's detection capabilities. The hunt had begun. In the newly established Planetary Defense Center, humans and Aetherians worked side by side, monitoring the approaching threat. Lizara watched her human allies with growing admiration. Where her people had chosen to flee in the face of aggression, humanity was standing its ground, not just for themselves, but for refugees they barely knew. "Your species continues to surprise us," she told Rodriguez during a rare quiet moment. "We believed we were bringing doom to your world by coming here. Instead, you've given us something we lost long ago." "What's that?" "The courage to fight for what we believe in, not with violence alone, but with innovation, with principles, with hope." She gestured to the bustling command center. "You've shown us that peace doesn't mean helplessness, that defending life doesn't require abandoning our values." As if in response to her words, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. On the main display, multiple contact signatures appeared at the edge of the solar system. The Caraxes weren't just testing anymore. They were coming in force. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, not for conquest or resources, but in defense of a species that had dared to choose peace in a violent galaxy. The Caraxes arrived with the arrogance of predators who had never known defeat. Their ships, angular monstrosities of dark metal and crackling energy fields, emerged from the Oort cloud in attack formation. The lead vessel alone dwarfed humanity's largest space station, its hull bristling with weapons that could reduce a planet to ash. In the Planetary Defense Center, Lieutenant Park's hybrid detection network lit up like a Christmas tree. 16 capital ships, at least 40 support vessels, she reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "They're moving faster than anything we've seen before." Admiral Rodriguez studied the tactical display, where red dots representing Caraxes vessels spread out in a hunting pattern perfected over centuries of persecution. "They're not even trying to hide their approach. They don't think they need to." The first message from the Caraxes came as a broadcast on all frequencies, their translation systems having already analyzed Earth's communications. The voice was deep, resonating with artificial harmonics designed to inspire fear. "Protectors of the weak, hear us. You harbor remnants of a species marked for extinction. Surrender them, and we may spare your world the lesson we have taught to others. Resist, and join them in oblivion." Dr. Chen, who had been analyzing the transmission, looked up from her station. "They're broadcasting on Aetherian frequencies too. They want them to hear this, to know what's coming." Lizara's form had contracted, becoming smaller, more crystalline, a sign of deep distress among her people. This is how it always begins: the threat, the chance for survival through betrayal. Many worlds chose to give us up rather than face the Caraxes. Admiral Rodriguez's response was immediate and broadcast on the same channels. "Humanity doesn't abandon its allies. If you want the Aetherians, you'll have to go through us first." The Caraxes commander's laughter echoed through the command center. "Your species is young. Your defense is primitive. You know nothing of true war." "Maybe not," Rodriguez replied. "But we're quick learners." The battle began not with an exchange of fire, but with silence. As the Caraxes fleet approached Mars' orbit, they encountered the first layer of Earth's hybrid defense system. Organic computers, melded with human quantum technology, created interference patterns that played havoc with the hunters' targeting systems. "They're slowing," Park reported, watching as the enemy fleet's formation began to waver. "The bioelectric field is working. Their ships can't maintain proper alignment." The Caraxes responded with overwhelming force, launching a barrage of energy weapons that could have vaporized Earth's entire pre-alliance fleet. But the attacks met something unprecedented. Defensive screens based on Aetherian cellular regeneration, strengthened by human nuclear physics. The barriers absorbed the energy, adapted, grew stronger. Dr. Chen's voice rose with excitement. "The shields are learning from each attack pattern. Every hit makes them more resistant." Her team of human and Aetherian scientists had worked around the clock to perfect this technology, combining principles that neither species would have discovered alone. The Caraxes commander's next transmission carried an edge of uncertainty. "What manner of defense is this? No primitive species should possess such technology. "We're full of surprises," Rodriguez answered. Then, to his crew, launched the swarm. From hidden bases across the solar system, thousands of small craft emerged. Each one was barely larger than a fighter jet, but they moved with organic grace, powered by hybrid engines that defied conventional physics. These were humanity's answer to overwhelming force, not massive warships, but adaptable, intelligent vessels that could think and react as one. The swarm enveloped the Caraxes fleet, not firing weapons, but instead attaching themselves to the massive ship's hulls. Where they touched, they began to change the very structure of the enemy vessels, using Aetherian bioengineering principles weaponized by human martial innovation. "Their shields are failing," Park announced, watching as the mighty hunters' defenses were literally transformed at the molecular level. "The swarm is converting their energy systems into organic matter. They can't maintain power." In the command center, Lizara watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. Her people had never imagined using their life-shaping abilities in such a way. Yet the humans had taken their peaceful technology and found a way to defeat aggressors without destroying them. The Caraxes fleet began to retreat, their mighty ships now partially transformed into inert organic masses that could barely maintain flight. Their commander's final transmission was filled with something new to their species: fear. "What are you?" Admiral Rodriguez's reply was calm, but carried the weight of humanity's determination. "We are what happens when you force peaceful people to defend themselves. We are what occurs when you mistake kindness for weakness. Remember this day, and remember that Earth stands ready if you ever return." As the Caraxes fled, leaving behind 3 ships, 2 transformed to escape, celebrations broke out across Earth. But in the Planetary Defense Center, the leaders of both species knew this was only the beginning. The hunters would return, with new weapons and tactics. Yet something fundamental had changed in the galaxy's balance of power. Humanity had proven that peace and strength were not opposites, that the most powerful defense could come from understanding life rather than dealing death. The Aetherians had found not just protectors, but partners who could help them reclaim their place among the stars. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, other persecuted species began to hear whispers of hope, of a young race that had dared to stand against the hunters and won. In the months following humanity's victory over the Caraxes, Earth underwent a transformation that no one could have predicted. The captured hunter ships, their systems partially converted to organic matter, became living laboratories where human and Aetherian scientists worked to understand the full potential of their combined technologies. Lieutenant Park spent countless hours studying the hybrid vessels, her expertise in both mechanical and biological systems, making her the perfect bridge between the 2 species' approaches. "These ships aren't just disabled," she explained during a briefing with Admiral Rodriguez and Lizara. "They're evolving. The organic components we introduced are actually improving upon the original Caraxes design." The implications were staggering. What had begun as a defensive measure was becoming something entirely new, a fusion of technologies that neither humans nor Aetherians could have achieved alone. Dr. Chen's research team discovered that the transformed ships' hulls were developing self-repair capabilities far beyond their original design. "It's like we've created a new form of life," she marveled, showing holographic displays of the molecular changes, one that combines the best aspects of biological and mechanical engineering. The ships aren't just healing themselves, they're becoming more efficient, more adaptable. But not all the changes were technological. The Aetherian refugees, once scattered and hiding throughout the solar system, began to establish permanent communities on Earth and its colonies. Their knowledge of environmental engineering transformed struggling Mars colonies into thriving biodomes. Lunar bases expanded into underground cities where human and Aetherian architecture merged in stunning new forms. Lizara, working with a human cultural exchange team, helped establish the first joint education centers. "Our peoples have so much to learn from each other," she explained to a group of human and Aetherian students. "We had forgotten that peace requires strength, not just to defend, but to build, to grow, to challenge ourselves. The changes weren't without resistance. Some humans feared that their species was losing its identity, becoming too dependent on alien technology. Others worried that the Caraxes would return with overwhelming force. Admiral Rodriguez addressed these concerns in a historic speech to the United Nations. "We haven't lost who we are by helping the Aetherians," he declared. "We've discovered who we can become. Our strength has always been our ability to adapt, to learn, to grow beyond our limitations." The Aetherians remind us that true power lies not in destruction, but in creation. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A team of young engineers, led by Lieutenant Park, discovered that the organic computers developed for the defense network could be adapted for terraforming. The same technology that had detected and countered the Caraxes could be used to transform hostile environments into habitable worlds. "Think about it," Park explained to the Joint Council. "We can create entire ecosystems that think and adapt. Not just colonies, but living worlds that can protect and sustain themselves." The first test of this new technology took place on Mars. The red planet's atmosphere began to change as billions of engineered microorganisms, guided by the hybrid computer network, worked to transform the environment. Within months, the first native Martian plants, designed by human geneticists and Aetherian life shapers, began to grow in the open air. But even as Earth and its colonies flourish, the shadow of the Caraxes loomed. Long-range sensors detected increased activity in distant star systems. The hunters were gathering allies, building new weapons, preparing for a campaign of revenge. Dr. Chen, analyzing the data with her team, saw patterns emerging. "They're not just planning another attack," she warned. "They're trying to turn other species against us. The Caraxes are spreading stories about how Earth is creating abominations, violations of the natural order." Admiral Rodriguez took the news with grim determination. "They're afraid," he observed, "not just of our weapons, but of what we represent. We've shown the galaxy that there's another way, that species can become stronger by working together, by combining their knowledge and skills instead of fighting for dominance." Lizara, her form shimmering with complex emotions, added, "My people once believed that we had to choose between peace and survival. You've shown us, shown everyone, that the greatest strength comes from building bridges, not walls." The Joint Council began preparations for the coming storm. But this time, Earth and its allies weren't just preparing defenses. They were creating something new. A vision of the future where cooperation between species led not to weakness, but to possibilities that no one had imagined possible. In orbital shipyards, a new class of vessels took shape. Ships that were neither human nor Aetherian, but something more. Their organic hulls housed consciousness shared between AI and living tissue. Their weapons could disable without destroying, transform without annihilating. They were the physical embodiment of what humanity and the Aetherians had achieved together. As the first of these ships prepared for launch, Admiral Rodriguez stood with Lizara in the observation deck. "Do you think we're ready?" she asked, her form reflecting the starlight. "For war, maybe. For changing the galaxy, definitely." He smiled. "After all, that's what humanity does best. We take impossible situations and turn them into opportunities." The stars beckoned, no longer just points of light, but beacons of possibility. The galaxy was about to learn that the most powerful force wasn't fear or dominance, but the courage to imagine and build a better future, together. The Caraxes returned not with a single fleet, but with an armada that darkened the space between stars. They had spent months gathering allies, convincing other predatory species that the human-Aetherian alliance represented a threat to the natural order of the galaxy. Now they came with ships from a dozen aggressive civilizations, all united in their determination to crush this dangerous new partnership. In the Planetary Defense Center, Lieutenant Park's enhanced detection network painted a grim picture. Over 200 capital ships, approaching from multiple vectors. They've learned from last time. They're using scattered formations to minimize the effectiveness of our swarm tactics. Admiral Rodriguez studied the tactical display, noting how the enemy fleet had adapted to their previous defeat. They're not just coming to punish us anymore. They want to make an example of Earth, to show the galaxy what happens to those who dare to change the established order. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the tension. We're receiving transmissions from multiple sources, not just the Caraxes. Other species are watching this. Our long-range sensors are picking up observation vessels from civilizations we've never encountered before. Good, Rodriguez replied. Let them watch. Let them see what happens when you underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation and compassion. The first wave of the attack came not against Earth, but against the terraforming projects on Mars. The Caraxes and their allies attempted to destroy what they saw as an abomination, a world being transformed by the merger of human and Etherian science. But Mars itself fought back. The planet's new ecosystem, guided by hybrid computer networks, responded to the threat. Massive atmospheric processors, part machine and part living tissue, created electromagnetic storms that disrupted enemy targeting systems. Fields of engineered plants released clouds of spores that sought out and transformed enemy weapons platforms. The entire planet is acting as a single defensive organism, Lizara observed, her form pulsing with excitement. This is beyond anything my people ever dreamed possible. But the Caraxes coalition pressed their attack, pushing through Mars' defenses with sheer numbers. As they approached Earth, they encountered humanity's next surprise. The transformed hunter ships from the previous battle had been replicated and improved. What had started as a defensive measure had evolved into a new form of space warfare. Lieutenant Park coordinated the counterattack from her station, launching hybrid fleet now. All systems show green. The ships are eager. The new vessels moved with impossible grace, their organic components allowing them to react with living instinct, while their mechanical systems provided precision and power. They didn't just fight the enemy fleet. They began to change it. Like a benign virus, they spread transformation through the attacking armada. Multiple enemy vessels showing signs of organic conversion, Park reported. The process is faster this time, more refined. Their weapons are being transformed into living systems that reject violence. The Caraxes commander's voice boomed through the command center, filled with rage and fear. What sorcery is this? You dare to corrupt the purity of our machines with your biological filth. Dr. Chen couldn't help but smile at the irony. They still don't understand. We're not corrupting anything. We're helping it evolve. The battle reached its crescendo above Earth's atmosphere. The remaining Caraxes allies, seeing their mighty weapons transformed into peaceful organic systems, began to retreat. But the Caraxes themselves fought on, their hatred of the Aetherians driving them to one final desperate gambit. They're concentrating their remaining ships for a suicide run, Rodriguez announced. They'd rather die than accept a future they don't control. That's when Lizara made her decision. Moving to the command platform, her form grew larger, more radiant. Let me speak to them. Let me show them what they've been fighting against all these years. Using the combined power of Earth's communication networks and Etherian biotechnology, Lizara projected herself into every ship in the Caraxes fleet. Her voice, carried on waves of light and thought, reached into the minds of the hunters. You call us weak because we chose peace. You hunt us because we refuse to become like you. But look around you. Look at what we've achieved with humanity. We didn't need to destroy to become strong. We didn't need to hunt to prove our worth. We found another way. A better way. And it's not too late for you to find it too. The effect was immediate and profound. Some Caraxes ships continued their suicide run, their commanders too committed to their path to change. But others stopped, their crews experiencing for the first time the full impact of Aetherian empathy combined with human determination. The battle ended not with a decisive victory, but with a transformation. As the dust settled, Earth's sensors detected something unprecedented. Caraxes ships approaching under a flag of truce. Not all of them, but enough to matter. enough to start a change that would ripple through the galaxy. In the aftermath, as Earth began helping the transformed Caraxes ships adapt to their new existence, other civilizations started reaching out. Species that had hidden their own peaceful innovations for fear of being seen as weak now saw a new possibility. The Human-Aetherian Alliance became a beacon, proving that true strength lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the courage to create something new. Admiral Rodriguez stood with Lissara in the observation dome of the new Galactic Cooperation Center, watching ships from a dozen species dock at Earth's expanded orbital facilities. "Did you ever imagine it would end like this?" he asked. Lissara's form sparkled with joy. "End, my friend, this isn't an ending. Thanks to humanity's courage and creativity, it's just the beginning. We've shown the galaxy that there's strength in peace, power in cooperation, and hope in transformation. The real question is, what will we create next?" As if in answer, the first rays of Earth's sun caught the hulls of the hybrid ships in orbit, their surfaces shimmering with the promise of a future where the boundaries between species, between organic and mechanical, between peace and strength, had been transformed forever. Humanity had not just saved a species, they had helped change the very nature of civilization itself.